Hi everyone and welcome to STEAM Time. My name is Dayna. I'm the Buena Vista Branch Manager with Monterey County Free Libraries. For today's STEAM Time, we are going to be talking about refraction of light or bending of light. And we're going to do two really simple experiments so we can see that in motion. The first one is going to be a pretty simple art experiment. So we get to do a little bit of art, and then we're going to use refraction to create inverted images. For the second one, we're going to be using a penny to do a little disappearing magic trick using refraction. So stay tuned. I'm going to walk you through everything you're going to need, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what refraction is. So stay tuned and let's get started. For today's experiments, we are only going to be using a couple things, and a lot of this you probably already have around the house. So for the first experiment, we are going to be drawing some figures, some arrows, some people, a hand, anything that you want to draw. We're going to try to invert the image using refraction. So for that one, you're going to need a clear container. It could be a glass jar like this mason jar or a plastic cup. You're going to need some white paper to draw your figure or character or image on. A marker of any color, I just picked black. And then you want to fill your container with water. And so for the first experiment we're going to be doing, that is all you are going to need. Then for the second experiment, it gets even easier. All you're going to need, again, is your clear jar, whether that's plastic or glass is up to you. You're going to need a penny or a coin of any kind. I'm using a penny. And then water. For the second experiment, we're going to have an empty jar and then fill water into it, but that's all you need. That's all it takes to do both experiments. So now that we have our supplies ready, let's dive into the science behind refraction or the bending of light. For today's experiments, we've already talked about and heard the word refraction quite a few times. But what exactly is refraction? So what we're going to be looking at today is a science concept called refraction or the bending of light. So when we have a clear object, such as the glass or plastic jar that we are using today, and in our case, filled with water, when light passes through this object, this transparent object, it refracts. So the light refracts or it bends once it passes through our transparent object. And for this experiment, our glass jar is filled with water. And what happens when you fill the jar with water, it then acts like a cylindrical convex lens. So it becomes a type of lens that when you hold an image behind it, it inverts the image or it flips it. And you'll see when we create our drawing that the image is going to change when we hold it behind the water, because the water and the jar form a type of lens called cylindrical convex lens. I know, that is quite the mouthful. So the image that we create, the inverted image, I want you to pay attention to what it looks like compared to your original image. Is it smaller? Is it bigger? What changes do you notice? And if you move your jar closer or further away, what does that do to the image? So now that we know a little bit more about the science behind the experiment we are going to do, let's begin creating our drawing and seeing refraction and inverted images at work. Okay, so it's time to get started with our first experiment. So we are going to take a piece of white paper, any kind of paper, printer paper, construction, whatever works for you. And we're going to draw an image. You can start off with something simple like an arrow. You can draw a hand pointing left or right. You can draw a stick figure, whatever you like. I'm gonna draw both. I'm gonna draw a little stick figure and an arrow, and we're going to see if the images become inverted through refraction once I hold them behind the water. And it's gonna be a little different because I am filming this, so it's gonna look a little different on camera. So play around with this when you're at your own home doing this experiment. Play around with the size of the image, move your container closer or further away. Does having more or less water change the image? There's a lot of things you could do with this experiment to take it a little bit beyond what we're covering for this steam time. I'm gonna draw a little stick figure, and when I look at my figure, the arms are pointing to the right, and so are the legs. Okay, and then I'm going to draw an arrow that's pointing to the right as well. And I'm keeping them pretty tiny. My jar's not very big. Okay, so let me hold it up and show you. Simple, and that's okay. I have a little stick figure and an arrow. So whatever you chose to draw will work perfectly for this. So everything I have is pointing to the right. So let's see what it looks like when I, let me see, put it behind. And I will tell you what's really interesting about my jar that I used. I think it's really creating a cylindrical convex lens because my mason jar has curves on it. So that definitely could impact the way that your image looks and the refraction that's taking place. So if you have a different type of glass, you can compare the different kinds, but let me hold it up. Let's see if we can, and play around with it. Ooh, I almost see two images on mine. And if I turn it a little bit, I sometimes can see like mirror images. It's pretty cool. So that's all it takes to learn about refraction is a piece of paper, a jar, and some water, and your artistic creativity for you to play around with this really cool science concept. So definitely when you do this one at home, test out a bunch of different things. What do you notice? If you hold your paper behind your jar, what direction? See, now I can see two images. That's pretty cool. Ooh. Play around with it. You can also hold it. And then what happens if you look from it from the side, from the other side, from the front? What does it look like? What changes do you notice as you do your experiment? So that is experiment number 1. We're going to jump into our next experiment that talks about refraction. And all we're going to need for this one is our penny, our jar, and a container of water. So stay tuned and we're going to walk through that one as well. For our final experiment that talks about and shows refraction, we're going to do one that is sort of like a magic trick. So you can do this one to wow your friends and family by showing them how you can make a penny disappear using refraction. So to do this one, it's really easy. You're going to take a penny, put it on a flat surface. Let me put it right here because I want you to see this up close. Now, take an empty container, not filled with water, and we're going to place it on top of the penny. Now, I want you to go to the side and look at your penny through the side of the jar. What do you notice? Can you see the penny on the bottom? I can see mine. Now, watch what happens when we add water. So I would recommend staying on the side, keep your eye on the penny. Now watch what happens as we add water to our jar. And I am a bit messy here. It's gone. I'm looking at the side of my jar and I can no longer see my penny. Magic, it disappeared. But what is really going on? Why do we think our penny disappeared when we added water to our jar? Well, this is taking place because of refraction. So when the light bounces off of an object, it reaches our eyes and then we're able to see that object. But as the light travels through our transparent container, so through the sides of the glass and the water that we filled our container with, it's refracted or it bends. So what happens is once it's refracted and that light bends, it never actually reaches our eyes. It doesn't bounce off and reach our eyes. So that's why to us it becomes invisible. So this one is pretty cool. Because of refraction, we're able to make a penny look like it disappeared. Thanks everybody for joining me for today's STEAM time. I hope you had fun learning about refraction and doing two very simple yet pretty cool science experiments. If you're interested in more experiments like this, please check out the other STEAM time videos that we have on our MCFL YouTube channel. Or you can also check out science books and STEAM themed books for kids at any of our local branches by visiting our catalog at emcfl.org. Thank you so much everybody, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Have fun experimenting. Bye.